everybody. Welcome to Titans Talk, episode 1. Titans are now 2-1. Big victory against the AFC South Division rival, the Indianapolis Colts. We came back into Nashville. We handled our business. Now we're 2-1. We go into week 4 versus the New York Jets. And I know a lot of people are probably thinking, wow, that should be a 3-1 record. But, we sometimes, the Titans, we have a tendency to overlook our opponents like we did with Cincinnati last year. And we can't do that with the Jets. We have to come in there. We have to make sure we take care of business. But before I get started on Titans Talk, like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you ever want to see Titans videos from me. I'm going to do a lot of different sports videos, but, mainly if you're a Titans fan and you want to sub to me, I'd be much, much appreciated for the love. Now, let's get into this. So the Titans come in 1-1 during week 3 versus the Colts. Carson Wentz didn't know if he was going to play or not for the Colts. He sprained both his ankles. Now, I have actually sprained both of my ankles before, and I could tell you it's not a very easy thing to do. And I have to give Carson Wentz, even though I despise the Colts, even though I don't like the Colts, they've always been a thorn in our side for many, many years. You got to give Carson Wentz credit. And I thought the Colts did a very good job executing his vulnerability. Like, faking out, like looking like he had the ball, faking it, doing a bunch of routes with their receivers and their running back. I thought they did a pretty good job. Now, considering Carson Wentz could barely move, I felt the Titans should have gotten more sacks, more hits than what they got. I will say the most consistent defender that we've had the last couple of years is Harold Landry. He's been the most consistent as far as getting after the quarterback, hitting, pressuring, getting the sacks. Bud Dupree did not play. I'm starting to get a little worried. I know it's only going into week 4, but I'm a little bit worried that we might have overpaid Bud Dupree. Now, I know Bud Dupree was really good with Pittsburgh, but let's be honest, Pittsburgh also had T.J. Watt and a lot of other great pieces to that Pittsburgh defense. So I know that he's coming off an a torn ACL, but from what I've seen of Bud Dupree from week 1 to week 2, he hasn't impressed me very much. Christian Fulton has impressed me. He was a big pickup last year, like a steal in the draft last year. He's really playing his games. He's really doing what he needs to do, and I think that's a good thing. We actually have a chance to. What I haven't seen a lot yet from the defense is, David Long has been really good filling in for Javon Brown. Javon Brown's been injury prone the last 2 seasons. I know he signed like a little extension for a 1-year contract. I know Rashad Evans, his contract's coming up too. Well, I need to see a little bit more from these Titan linebackers. We need to see more consistency. And I know Kevin Byard had he had an off year last year. But this Titan defense, Jeffrey Simmons, baby Thanos as some of us like to call him, has done a very good job in causing some destruction in that front line. Taylor Lewan came back in this game on the offensive side of the ball. He came back and he came in and he was that left tackle that we all knew, loved, and remembered before his ACL injury last year. The offensive line, I thought, did a hell of a lot better job protecting Tannehill this time around. Tannehill didn't cause any turnovers or fumbles, but he did get intercepted twice. In the last 2 seasons, he's only been intercepted maybe 7 or 8 times. That is I wouldn't say the panic button. I wouldn't say a concern, but it's something that you have to look into going further into the season. Because then we're going to have more of a, if he keeps making mistakes like this. Now, that one throw that he made, that was just a boneheaded mistake by Tannehill. The other one was bounced off and it was an interception. I mean, that can happen to any quarterback in this NFL, any quarterback in the league. So I'm not really concerned about that. Derrick Henry did get his yards, but I sometimes I get worried, though, because I think Vrabel is running him too much. And we all know that running backs don't really last long in the league. And yes, Derrick Henry is a beast, stiff-arming people like he did last night. He got another stiff arm in there, and he's running people over. But defenses are being smart now. Now they're tackling him in the legs. They're trying to trip him. They're trying to strip the ball from Derrick Henry. And this is where Julio Jones and A.J. Brown come in handy. But A.J. Brown had a little bit of a hamstring injury, so he didn't play the rest of the game. Julio has performed for us. Julio has came in. He's done what he needs to do. I haven't seen a lot out of Josh Reynolds yet, so I don't know where that's going to go further into the season. But hopefully now Bullock did a good job for us. Hopefully we finally figured out our kicker situation, because we all know, if you're a Titans fan, man, we've been dealing with the kicker issue since Ryan Suckup left. So it's been a trying time being a Titan kicker. Sometimes you want to go find Ray Finkel and put him in there or something. But overall, I thought the Titans played a pretty solid game, except for those 2 mistakes that they made, the 2 interceptions. I thought that the Titans should have scored more than what they did, and I feel like the Titans also should have gotten more pressure on Carson Wentz than they did. But you got to give the Colts credit. They did a lot of good trickery plays to fill in where Carson Wentz couldn't do. And so Titans did get that victory that they needed. Now we're going into against the Jets for week 4. For me, I feel like we should go into week 4 and get this win. We should definitely get this win. It's going to be because we're going into the stretch here, the mid-stretch here very soon. Let me look at their schedule here, ladies and gentlemen, so I can get it up here. So we got the Jets coming up. After the Jets, we go to Jacksonville against the Jaguars. Now, you look at those 2 games in particular, you should think automatically 3-1, 4-1. But the Jags split it with us last year as well. We went into Jacksonville and we overlooked them last year. This is something we don't want to do again. We want to make sure that we get that AFC South division, which I believe we still will this season. The AFC South division is really not that good this year because, with the Texans not having Deshaun Watson and getting rid of J.J. Watt and not having D-Hop, and the Colts are struggling right now, and the Jags, Trevor Lawrence is learning that the NFL is not how it is like it is in college. And so no matter what record the Titans got, I still believe that we'll get a playoff spot, and I still believe that we will get the AFC South division. That's just confidence right there. That's just being positive. I think that we've been a playoff team for a while. Even when we were going through those 9-7 stretches, before Vrabel came in, I thought that we were still a pretty solid football team. And I still think the Titans are a pretty good football team. Maybe they're just not, maybe they're finally starting to learn how to gel together. Because I feel like in week 1 with the Cardinals, we came in there with all that hype surrounding us. They're like, oh, look at this A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. And, that offense is just going to score at will on everybody and anybody. And I felt like I felt like the players kind of lived up to that hype in their head. And I think that's why Arizona came in and got that victory very easily, is because we were actually overlooking what the Cardinals were doing. But when we're going into that stretch of the Jets and the Jags, on week 6, we got Buffalo. Now, we did beat Buffalo at home last year. Buffalo went to the AFC Championship last year against Kansas City. So we definitely want to be 4-1 when we go up against Buffalo. Because when we get to that point, this is when it becomes a little bit more difficult. Because after Buffalo, we're at home against Kansas City, the defending AFC champions, who won a Super Bowl, went to the Super Bowl last year and lost to the Bucs. So we don't want to split any of these. We don't want to split that game between the Jets and the Jags. We want to go in there and get that 4-1. Because then right after the Chiefs, we got the Colts away. We split with the Colts last year, so we have to make sure we can get that. Then we go to Los Angeles and face the Rams, and the Rams are playing really good ball. They beat the defending champs, the Bucs, last night. So on Sunday, so you want to be sure on that. Excuse me. Then we have the Saints coming at home. Now, that's also going to be another tough stretch. I mean, even without Drew Brees, that New Orleans Saints team is still pretty damn good. Then we get we get the Texans coming at home. We split with that should be a win for us. Then we go at New England against the Patriots. Then we got the Jags at home. Then we go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh beat us last year in that little overtime last year. But then we got the 49ers at home, which is not going to be an easy task. We got the Dolphins at home, should going to be a victory, and the Texans should be a victory. So, looking at this, it's very important for us to get on a 4-1 start before week 5 against the Bills. It's very, very important, because this can be playoff implications later on down the schedule. And the Titans got a hard schedule this year. They got a hard schedule this year. I mean, and we still get Titan Nation, we still get no respect. We still get no respect from the sports writers. We still get no respect because they still look at us like, oh, well, the Titans are a playoff team, but they still got Derrick Henry, but Ryan Tannehill's good, but it's always that but. That always that one word that precisely, it's like they have no respect for us. And that's cool, because before last year, we went in there, we took New England out, Brady left, packed his bags, went to Tampa. Then we beat Baltimore, and then we went in there and faced the Chiefs and had a very good, maybe first half against the Chiefs. Afterwards, we kind of it's hard to stop Patrick Mahomes. So last year we came in there during the whole pandemic, not having a lot of players, not having no practice, not having a preseason, not having a preseason really kind of stunk last year. And having Taylor Lewan out for most of the year last year, we were 11-5. We won our division. Should have beat the Ravens. Ravens came in and beat us. So we always know that whole Titans-Raven rivalry starts back when the Titans were in the AFC North before. So that whole rivalry right there, and even with Pittsburgh, it's still there. But what I want to see coming into these next 2 weeks is the progression of where Tannehill is going to go. Now, Tannehill does make smart decisions, but I want to see Tannehill do a game where he doesn't turn the ball over. That's what I would like to see. I don't want to see no fumbles. I don't want to see no interceptions. I want to see him go in there and play that perfect play action game that he plays, and make sure you lower the turnovers. Lower the turnover rate. For me, with Tannehill, the one thing when I look at Ryan Tannehill and I'm like, wow, he resurrected his career coming to Tennessee. When we signed him as a backup for Marcus Mariota, we didn't expect Tannehill to be the way he is, but it was a blessing in disguise. But it also doesn't hurt, too, to have that beast of a man, Derrick Henry, behind you. That doesn't hurt at all. If you're any quarterback in this league would be like chomping at the bits to have Derrick Henry. And if you don't, you're fooling yourself. But, with Tannehill, too, if we get to the playoffs this year, which I strongly believe that we will, and I believe that we'll win the AFC South because, let's face it, I don't think the Colts are going to get it together. I don't think Jacksonville is going to get it together, and I damn sure don't think the Texans are going to get it together. So I believe that we get the AFC South. We get into the playoffs. What we need to do is we need to make some noise. And it can't be just Derrick Henry. I mean, we rode his coattails the last 2 years into the playoffs. And when the Ravens did a good job of shutting him down in the playoffs last year, Ryan Tannehill was nowhere to be found. Tannehill can have a great season, but he needs to have an equal greater season in the playoffs, because what you do in a regular season doesn't mean diddly shit if you're not there in the playoffs. And for me personally, I believe that we have to be consistent on that basis with that. The defense, we lost some pretty big chunks. Logan Ryan left last year. This year, we got rid of Malcolm Butler, who was actually really good for us last year. Adoree Jackson we lost, and we got Caleb Farley and Christian Fulton and Jenkins. Jenkins has done a pretty good job for us, but we're still very young in that corner with the corners. And we just lost Weaver probably for the season, our fourth-round pick. So that was a pretty big blow to lose him in the linebacking position. But I would like to see the Titans get after the quarterback more, which they have the last 3 weeks. I mean, they did better than what they did last year. But it's still early. Still time to tell. It's still early. I think maybe after the game against the Chiefs, we'll probably see where the Titans are going to go. Who are they going to be identity? And when you look at some of these interviews with Vrabel, people seem to be happy. Titan fans seem to be happy we're 2-1, but the only person that doesn't seem to be happy is Mike Vrabel. Coach Vrabel seems to be really upset with things. I mean, even though he's happy that we're winning, maybe he's just not happy with some of our performances, some of the players not doing what they're supposed to do, what they're being paid to do. Mike Vrabel, a lot of people have kind of been, I've talked to some friends and some family about Vrabel, and Vrabel is always, you got some people who like him, and then you got the people who don't like him. I honestly believe that he is the coach that we needed. He's the coach that we need, because the one thing I love about Vrabel is that He's brash. He speaks his mind. He tells it like it is. He doesn't mind calling you out when you make mistakes. It doesn't matter if you're a future Hall of Fame player like Julio Jones. You make a mistake, he's going to call you out, and that is what a coach is supposed to do. No, he's got that New England training. He also was playing. He also coached a little bit under Urban Meyer in Ohio State. There, so he's learned tactics from not only Belichick but from that as well. And he's, the one thing I like about him is when he gets his pads on, he puts a little bit of these little pads on in practice, and he's out there hitting with the guys, and he's a player's coach. That's one thing that I believe that Vrabel, when we signed Vrabel, I know some people are like, wow, really? We got Mike Vrabel? Really? Really? And the one thing that really irks me about the city of Nashville, the state of Tennessee, not really the state of Tennessee, but what really irks me about Nashville is you got some of these fans who used to go like this when the Titans were losing. And some of you Titans fans, you know what I'm talking about here. The true Titan fans know exactly what I'm talking about here. When they go, when you love your team with the good and the bad and the ugly. When we came to Nashville, when the Warriors came to Nashville, and they changed their name to the Titans, everybody was all about Steve McNair, Eddie George, Frank Wycheck, Keith Boyd, Javon Curse, all those cats. Everybody was about the Titans at that point. And then when the Titans started losing pieces and we started losing and losing and losing, that's all we heard. That's all we ever heard was like, well, I used to watch the Titans. I used to like the Titans until they started winning. Then I started seeing people. It just really irks me because I feel like the Titan fans need to come to the stadium more. It's weird seeing more fans. It's weird seeing a lot of fans of the Colts inside the stadium. You know what I'm saying? Some of y'all who are Titan ticket holders or some of y'all who go to Titan games, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But Nashville is all about they don't mind supporting the Predators, the Nashville Predators. They don't mind supporting them, but they don't give. I don't feel like the city of Nashville gives the Titans enough love like they do with the Predators, and it really. Okay, so yeah, the Preds went to the Stanley Cup, but let's be honest here. I support both. I've always supported my teams, no matter what the outcome is. I'm more of a football guy than I am a hockey guy, obviously, but I don't know. To me, I look at some of these Titan fans. And I remember going to training camp. I used to work for back in the day. I used to work for Titans locker room. When the Titans locker room first came around in 2010, I was at the training camps. I was working as the Titans locker room. The Titans locker room, the one that sponsors their gear, their attires. I remember seeing some of these fans come and they would come and get their autographs, but they're the same ones who wouldn't come to the football games. And I've been to a few football games. I know the people who come to those and who don't. I remember faces. And it's one of those things where, the Titans have been to the playoffs 2 straight years. We're going to go again a 3rd straight year. There's no denying that. It's going to happen. As long as Derrick Henry stays healthy and as long as Tannehill stays healthy, as long as that offensive line plays like they did yesterday against the Colts, and as long as our defense starts getting after the quarterback more and starts becoming the Titans defense that we came to love 2 years ago, I should see no reason why we shouldn't make it to the playoffs again. I see no reason. The problem with the Titans, though, and I know a lot of people do not like our defensive coordinator from last year, and I know he's our coordinator this year. The Titans are showing that even without Arthur Smith as offensive coordinator, we're still putting points on the board. The last two games we've shown that. What I worry about though with the Titans though is we're not a big market franchise, and it's you know we don't have that money like the Cowboys do. We don't have that money like Pittsburgh and all those big teams that have all the big money. I know J. Rob has done a really good job as general manager for us. I mean, there's some things that he's done that's been questionable, especially in the draft with Isaiah Wilson. We're not going to go there from last year, but you guys know what I'm talking about. I don't know if Caleb Farley. I don't know if we should have drafted him last year because I know he's got those injuries coming off that injury with his back. I mean, there's some questionable things that J. Rob has done, but J. Rob's also done a lot of good things. The good outweigh the bad. So J. Rob has done a really good job for us, and I met him once or twice. He's a really good dude, really good guy. You could definitely care. You could definitely tell he cares about creating a winning formula here in Tennessee. I know they have the win now approach thing, but what worries me though, going into free agency next year, you know, what are we going to do with Julio? What are we going to do with Javon Brown? What are we going to do with Rasheed Evans? What are we going to, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of teams, a lot of these players, if they want to keep their core together, some of these guys are going to have to restructure their deals, like Derrick Henry, like Tannehill. Taylor Lewan's probably going to have to restructure his deal. Stafford's going to have to restructure his deal. And even Ben Jones will probably have to restructure his deal. You want to keep your core players, but at the same time, you have to. It's a business, and NFL can be a dirty, dirty, dirty business. But someone asked me the other day, I believe it was somebody at the gym. They had a Derrick Henry shirt on, and and they saw my Titans hat. And they saw me and they asked me, how long do you think Derrick Henry has? Statistically, because you know how running backs don't usually last long in this league. And I said, as long as Derrick Henry stays in the shape that he's in and he doesn't have a lot of bad injuries, I think Derrick Henry's tank can be really good for the next 4 to 5 years. If he doesn't get any injuries. Let's hope he doesn't. Pray to God that he doesn't. Because when he came into the league, we had DeMarco Murray. So he got to play under DeMarco Murray. So for 2 seasons, he got a little bit, I wouldn't say rest, but he was able to, he had training wheels on at that point. I think Derrick Henry will have another 1,000-yard season. Do I believe it will be 2,000 yards again this season? I don't know. Possibly. But if he gets another 2,000 yards, will I be surprised? No. But I think this time around, I just don't think he's going to get it. I think he'll get 1,000-something yards. Absolutely. But he's done it. Teams are starting to learn how to tackle him. And I saw it today. I saw it yesterday with the Colts, or the game with the Colts. They are learning to tackle him. And they're learning to hit him low. Now, Derrick Henry is built from top to bottom. But when you play football, you're always taught a big guy like that, you're supposed to hit him low. And now people are starting to figure that out. And I mean, Derrick Henry is still going to get his carries. He's still going to get his yards. No matter what you do, you can still stack that box up. he's still going to get his yards. I think that as long as Derrick Henry can play consistent, and we usually, whenever Derrick Henry gets over 100 yards or more, we have a winning record. We have a winning record when he does. And he got 100 yards yesterday against the Colts. He had against week 2 against the Seahawks. Derrick Henry is one of those guys who, at first, he'll get the 2-3 yard, 2-3 yard, 2-3 yards. Then it will go to 4 to 5, and then it will go 2 or 3, then 4 to 5, and then 7 to 8, then 9 to 10. It's like the more the game progresses, the more Derrick Henry isn't tired, but he gains energy from it. It's almost like the game makes Derrick Henry even more like energized. It's almost like the hits that he's getting is like he's like absorbing it like a superhero. You know, it's really fun to watch. It's like, oh well, he's slow. Like if you look at one of the games, you can turn on there and be like, oh shit, it's halftime. He's only got like 10 carries for 30 yards, and then all of a sudden you go away for a few minutes, or you go to the store and you come back and he's got 15 carries for 150 yards, and you're like, what the fuck? How did that happen? That's how Derrick Henry is. Now, if he's like that all game long, starting from first to the fourth quarter, you're not beating the Tennessee Titans. I don't care which team you are. I don't care who you are. You ain't doing it. But if he progresses quicker, and that's how he is. And Tannehill, what worries me about Tannehill, though, is I know he likes to run and get the first downs, but that man needs to slide. He needs to slide a lot better. I know that Tannehill is a tough guy. He wants to show that, but Tannehill, slide, all right? Because we don't really have a good backup if you get injured. Tannehill gets injured, then we're talking a whole different ballgame here. Anyways, this is Titans Talk Episode 1, Big Kev here, Big Kev's World. If you like what you hear and you want to see more Titan content from me, hit the subscribe button. I'm very active, but I'm very cool with my subscribers. I used to have a bigger channel back in the day, and I left YouTube for a couple years, so I came back, and it would be nice to establish that. It'd be nice to establish to get to know more you Titan Nation fans out there and to interact with you guys. So I'm Big Kev. This is my world, and we're living in it.